Hi everyone, it's Shel from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's day 22 in the 2025 Countdown to Christmas series with Marie from Marie's Vermont Creations. Our technique for today was to do a baking holiday scene, and we're going to be using this stamp from Lawn Fawn. I believe it's called Sprinkled with Love. We're going to be using the oven, some of the icons, the cookie tray from this set. And then I don't have the coordinating dies, but I have the die set that makes this interactive. So it will cut out the stove, but then it also cuts out the door so that you can open it and put, see inside of it. So that's what we're going to do. I am placing the frosting, the sprinkles jar, the cookies on some watercolor cardstock because we are going to be watercoloring with distress inks and distress oxides. I have not watercolored in a while. I don't even think I've done it at all in this series, and I usually love to do it. But the reason that I don't do it is because it's usually when I'm doing scene cards, and scene cards take forever. This one, I will say, probably took me in total about 6 hours. I had over an hour of footage that I cut down. So, and there also was a part where my camera died and I didn't realize it. And then I didn't have the charger downstairs, and I knew if I went back upstairs, I was not going to come back down. So I tried to finish as much of it off screen that was more of like coloring and gluing a couple things together that you wouldn't need to see. So I am using some distress ink and distress oxide, like I said earlier, in some gray tones. So the distress ink is actually weathered wood, and then I have picket fence there, which is white, and I do kind of mix a little bit of the picket fence in with some of the colors. Then I have lost shadow and hickory smoke, and then there's one other one. I can't remember what that one is, but I am taking the one that I can't remember, the hickory smoke and the lost shadow, and putting it down onto my glass media mat and using some water to kind of make the ink a little bit more liquid, like more watercolor, and then using a tiny brush to go ahead and put the color down and add some shading. So while you're watching me color this in, I thought that I would talk to you a little bit about the series. So day 22 is almost over, only 3 more projects to do, which is crazy. So Marie and I have been doing this series for 3 years together. I've done it a couple more before that. So we come up with 25 different themes, techniques, ideas, stamp sets, etc. Put them into a randomizer and post every Monday and Friday from September until right before Christmas. So yes, I know mine's late. It's usually at 2 o'clock. I actually had to finish the card this morning, but because I had so much footage that I had to go back and edit, I was unable to get a chance to do the voiceover until now. So I have not watched her video. I have seen her card, and we did something a little similar, like baking the cookies. But this one, mine is interactive. I know interactive is not one of Marie's favorites. So she and I have completely different crafting styles, which will give you 2 completely different crafters' ideas for the same exact stamp set or color scheme or whatever the prompt is that we have done for the day. So Marie will have links to the playlists in her videos. So I will leave a link to her channel below, as well as the intro video link. So if you haven't checked either one of those out, make sure that you do. Marie is also doing a giveaway, so you want to make sure that you go over and you're subscribed to her and that you comment on her videos. Okay, so back to the card. You saw me stamp out the little cookies. So I did ones that were going in the oven and then ones that had the icing on top of them that we already decorated. So there are little cookie cutters on there, and so I colored those in. It's I think it's the heart and the stars are the two cookie cutters. There's some extra dough with a cutout cookie from it, and then you could make the cookies decorated or make them undecorated, so like they were going into the oven. So I did some of each of those, and the decorations were, they have little icing on them, so there's a shape that's smaller than the actual cookie base, and you can color that in. You can use a colored ink to do that. So that's what I did. I used pine needles and aged mahogany for the green and the red. So now what you're seeing me do is I am gluing the vellum to another piece of cardstock. So I took the die and ran it through my machine so that I would just get the bottom piece. If you have the coordinating dies for the stamp set, you could cut the back piece out as a solid one. They do have that die, and you could just sandwich them together, because it actually cuts the middle piece of the door out when you use the interactive die. So what I'm doing is putting the vellum onto a piece of the black cardstock, but what I did was I made sure that it only was the pieces that were on the inside, so anything that would fold out, and not the outside edges. So you can see it there that the outside edges, I cut those off. So where it makes the cut out on three sides of the door, I cut off to the left and the right of that, if that makes sense, and then glued that down, because vellum is very tricky with glue. You can always see it behind it, no matter, even if you use the regular vellum glue. So I am just adding, I added a piece of gray cardstock for the inside of the oven to make it look darker than the outside of the oven. I am using a black marker to kind of draw in the rack that you would have the cookies sitting on. And then I'm going to use that same Bearly Arts glue to go ahead and attach the baking sheet that I have with 3 cookies on it. So putting that in there, and then there is a little tab, and I wasn't sure what this was for, but this is to actually close up the oven door. You put glue only on the bottom part, not the actual tab. Line it up with the very top of the door, and then you can pop it right underneath of the oven so that it closes nicely. So you just have to be careful that if you are gluing the cut out from the coordinating die set, you just want to make sure that you don't glue too close to the edge of the under the burners, so that when you go ahead to put that little tab in, you need to have the space for it. So I'm just going in, and I cut out from some watercolor cardstock the tag, the tea towel. I didn't know what that other one was, the one with the X's on it. It's a tea towel, and it's so stinking adorable. I cut out the handle and then the tag, like I said. So I made the handle blue. Here's the tag here, and then I did a very, very light green tea towel. There is a gingerbread man stamp in the stamp set that I didn't use for cookies, so I thought it would be really cute to go on to the tea towel, just to give it a little bit of decoration. I was going to do pattern paper, but then I thought I wanted it to coordinate with everything else, so I did watercolor it. So I used the same colors, pine needle and aged mahogany, to color in the tea towel and the tag that says "Open Me." I did stamp that in Lawn Fawn ink. The gingerbread man was stamped in Hero Arts ink. And now I'm just getting ready to go ahead. Oh, and Fred had to come up and make his presence known. He's been very much by my side these past couple of weeks. So he was just checking out what was going on. So I'm going to glue the cookies down to the plate. I'm going to glue the tea towel to that handle so that it doesn't slide around. You could move it to one side or the other, but I liked it in the middle for mine. The tag, I am going to go ahead and put some twine on that. Just to tie it to the handle. Although I did see a video yesterday where somebody actually stamped opened me on the door handle before they went ahead and glued this down, because the door handle is 3D. There are 2 score marks on both sides where you do a valley fold and a mountain fold, and then you will get the handle and you put glue on the very bottom, and then you can glue that down to the front, and it makes it easier to open the oven door. So now I'm just going ahead and adding in the cutters, the cookie cutters. So one thing that I did do, which I didn't catch on camera, but I actually went back and I used the same blue that I'm going to use for the countertops. I used it for the oven, and it matches the countertops pretty well. And then some of the same color that I used for the dough, and where the cookie cutters were overlapping either one of those, it became that color. So if it was overlapping the dough, it was the same color that I watercolored the dough that was on the counter, and then the same color blue that was on the cabinets or the countertops, because you would be able to see through those. I didn't cut the middle out. If I had pulled out the X-Acto knife, I could have. So now I'm doing a technique that I like doing for wood flooring. I probably could have added a little bit of detail into this, but if you just run ink pads over top of the paper, it'll kind of give you a wood grain type look. So it's a really quick and fast way to do wood grain. However, I did not love the way this one came out, and then I went ahead and used the piece of paper to go ahead and with that same black pen to draw the line. I didn't like that after that, but it's okay because you're not even going to be able to see it. Covered up pretty much all of the floor except for where it's right underneath of the stove. So here are all the pieces that I did. I went and added the cookie jar. Now that's from the cookies and milk set, I believe. Went ahead and watercolored that. I cut out 3 sets of cabinets. These cabinets measure 2.5 by 1 3/4. So I scored them at 1 1/4. For the double cabinets, the one on the end that does not have I ended up cutting part of that off. But then I did go ahead and do, I think it was 1.5 by, so it scored at 1.5. So it was 1 1/4 by 1.5 for the panels for the door, because I wanted it to make it look fancy. So I went ahead and cut out those as well from some of the scrap watercolor cardstock, gluing those down. These are going to be the cabinets. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. This part took forever, and I think this is why it took me so long to do this, because I could see it in my mind, but I couldn't figure out how to make it happen. So the blue pieces of cardstock, and this is where it all stemmed from, because I liked that color blue, and I just thought those would be really pretty countertops, even though that's like, I feel like so 80s or early 90s, but I just loved it. So again, trying to figure out what I was going to do. I couldn't figure out the wallpaper background or the backsplash, or I don't know. It was just not coming together. Then I saw this scrap of cardstock and I thought, really pretty. It almost looks like a marble if it had been like white, but I liked that it had some of the blues in it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. This piece of cardstock measures 9 1/4 by 3 1/4, because the card base is 9 1/2 by 3 1/2. Because I cut it at 9 1/2 by 7, and then I scored at 3 1/2 to do the slimline. Now, I don't know if that's too big to fit in an envelope. I didn't measure. I just kind of did it off the top of my head. So we'll have to see if it fits in an envelope. So now I am just gluing the cabinets down to the bottom. I was trying to figure out how far down they needed to be. My cabinets for downstairs into the craft room, the countertop kind of spills over top of it. It's like there's a very, very narrow gap between the top drawer and where the countertop is. So I figured I could move that down a little bit. The countertops are 1 inch wide, and then it 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch I scored to make it look like it was a bullnose. So I just thought that would give it a little bit of decoration. So once I go ahead and glue the cabinets in place, I'm going to make sure that my stove looks okay there, and then I figure out where to put the other ones. I was going to glue the middle set of cabinets on first, but I said maybe that won't look right. So what I went ahead and did was I did the ones on the very right-hand side, and then I did the middle ones. So this card honestly took me forever. Like I said, I had the design in my head, and for some reason, I just couldn't get it to execute the way that I wanted. It did take me a little bit longer because I had gotten some bad news last night, and I just kind of tried to keep myself busy, and all of a sudden I was throwing myself into the card, and it just made me kind of forget about things for a little while. It was just nice to be able to craft. I found out last night that a girl that I went to college with passed away. She was the first person that I met at orientation, and we had drifted apart, and I saw her husband a couple months ago at a food show, and it's just really crazy to think that she's gone, and she was such a sweet person, and it just makes you look at things a little bit differently. So, I just kind of threw myself into making this card last night. So I don't know if that's why it wasn't coming together, or my brain just was somewhere else and wasn't connecting the things. So, but I really do like the way that it eventually turned out. And it was good to keep my mind off of things. Crafting is very therapeutic for me, at least. I know for other people it is too. So it was kind of nice to just not think for a while. So I'm just going ahead and gluing the pieces down to the countertop. Now this piece here, the dough, I wasn't really sure that I probably should have waited to glue them together, but last night I was just trying to get some stuff accomplished. I wouldn't have put it in this exact arrangement, but I do like the way that it turns out, because the rolling pin is kind of looks like it's sticking up in the air, but again, it's not a realistic scene. It's trying to be, but it really is not. So before I go ahead and use some foam tape to glue or attach the stove to the card base, I am going to tie on this little knot. This is left over from the other day when I used some string for the card. I think it was the last one, the book flip card. So I'm going to go ahead and tie those ends, and then I'm going to cut off the very end of the ribbon. I have to be very careful with ribbon because the boys are obsessed, and they will just take any ribbon that they find, and they think it's a toy. I ordered some stuff from them from Chewy the other day, and I went to go bring some other things in, other packages that I got, and I had left a couple of toys, it was a little cardboard piece with 3 little toys on it, and I'm like, I thought I had it in here somewhere. I went back out and checked in the Chewy box, and it's not in there. These stinkers picked up the toy, and Oreo is like a dog, and he moved it up into the 2nd floor. So, they pick up everything. They think everything is theirs. So I've been trying to limit my use of ribbon around the boys. So we have to clean everything up. Once I went ahead and added the foam tape to the back of this, I used my Barely Arts glue to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. I knew that I wouldn't put this down correctly in the first place, and I didn't want to get it stuck to a spot that I didn't want it to. So there you go. You can see how easy it is to open the door and then put the flap back in. It just didn't feel like it was staying for a second. I think that I didn't latch it in all the way. So I tried to figure out what to do because I wanted handles on the doors. I was going to do long handles, but then this was probably a little bit easier. This is some gold Nuvo drops. So I put a dot on each of the handles. They're probably not even, but if I did things myself, then that's probably why. So it's kind of my kitchen. You did see me tap on the back of the paper. That's to smooth out any points that are in those little dots. Sometimes you get like a little point on it. So to round it out, you can just go ahead and flick the back of it. I'm also going to go ahead and add some gold to the knobs on the stove, and then also to the line underneath cookies. I was going to do it on the lid, but then I decided to just go ahead and add it to the line underneath the word cookies, just to kind of bring attention to that and like add gold in a third place. So I'm tapping the back of this, but it doesn't really work with the knobs. So I'm actually going to take my pick and then just kind of smooth them out. So like I said, this is a 9.5 by 3.5 inch card base. I'm going to use that Bearly Arts glue to attach the card front to the card base. And that is the card for today. So I hope that you guys are enjoying this, and you're enjoying the series. I can't believe it's almost over. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below in the comment section, and I will get back to you. If you have not checked out Marie's channel, make sure you go over and check her channel out. And I will see you again real soon for another video. Bye!